Welcome to the Everyday Comfort Podcast, where we help homeowners make smart decisions and save money, and guide contractors on building trust, growing their business, and delivering real value. Let's dive into the show.
Hi, I'm Anthony Mound, your host of Everyday Comfort, the podcast built to serve both homeowners and home service contractors. Whether you're a contractor looking to grow your business or a homeowner hoping to avoid costly surprises, we dive into real stories, practical tips, and smart strategies to help you succeed and stay comfortable every day. This episode is brought to you by Trust One, your reliable plumbing and HVAC contractor in Quincy, Massachusetts. Our goal is to provide premier customer service that instills our customers with trust, confidence, and a unique experience. Trust One strives to be the most recommended heating, cooling, and plumbing contractor in the South Shore. To learn more about us and get in touch, go to trustoneservices.com. I have Chad here of Rise 25, who has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. We've flipped the script, and he'll be interviewing me. Chad, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, Anthony. Great to be here. We are recording this mid-December. How is everything in Quincy, Massachusetts?
Cold. And busy.
Well,
Yep.
I guess that's appropriate then for our our conversation today. As we head into winter, what would you say maybe are the biggest HVAC or plumbing problems that you tend to see this time of the year?
People just wait to turn on their heating is probably the number one. They wait till it's actually cold out to turn on their heating instead of running it first to kind of work out the kinks to make sure it's actually going to work. Especially, it's one of those things you don't even think of. You just expect to turn it on and it to work the first time, but usually, if it's a newer system, it'll work. It'll be fine. But if you have an older system, I recommend turning it on before it's actually a problem. That way, you can get someone out fast and get the issue taken care of.
Are there common issues that arise as a result of that? It just doesn't work?
Yeah, like filters, like if you have an air filter that's been sitting an entire year, like
Mm.
regardless if the system's running or not, it's going to collect dirt and dust. The system can collect dirt and dust by sitting or not being used, depending if you have heating or air conditioning. Um, and if you have a furnace, your air conditioning system is separate. If you have a heat pump, obviously you're running the same system all year round. Um, but if you have multiple components to a system, you definitely want to test it and make sure it works. Make sure you're changing your air filters. It's worth at least having a maintenance or a checkup done on it.
So let's say you turned it on a little bit late. You just kind of take for granted. You just kind of take for granted that it's probably going to work. What are some early warning signs that maybe you could pay attention to just in case?
Smells, noises, inconsistent heating or cooling. Cooling will obviously be air conditioning season, but
Mm-hmm.
if it's not working like it usually works, if it's blowing cold air or the pipes aren't getting hot or you hear like air in the pipes, if you have a boiler, those are really signs, noises, smells. Uh, you know, I wouldn't just for a smell, I wouldn't necessarily have someone out. I'd probably just check your air filter first and check to see if your system's dirty. And then I would call someone. But yeah.
So if you haven't been running your heat in like, I don't know, 6 months or something, and then there is a smell, is that it's not a huge sign of panic?
Yeah, just make sure you have carbon monoxide detectors. Make sure those things are changed every 5 years and make sure
Hmm.
that like you press the button and it actually works. Granted, carbon monoxide detectors go off at like, anywhere from 70 or 60 to 70 parts per million, which is the way that carbon monoxide is measured. Harmful is anywhere from like 30 to 40, so it doesn't go off until it's really harmful. Just make sure you have, carbon monoxide detector within like 6 feet of a gas burning appliance or oil or any fuel burning appliance. Those are really important things.
So let's say that they turn it on. There is some sort of issue. Um, if they call you, what's the difference between maybe a quick tune-up or a full winter heating system maintenance?
Uh, there's no real quick tune-up. If you're gonna do a tune-up, you might as well do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but before replacement of systems, we like a refresh. Sometimes if it's needed, like if you have components that are starting to fail on a furnace or a boiler or even a heat pump, we have like refreshes that bring the system kind of back to the factory fresh before it becomes replacement time. So that's an option as well. But yeah, tune-up would be the first priority. You can't really have to a tune-up. You got to just do it or do it right. You can do a checkup, which is not a cleaning. You just come and we'll look through it with a checklist and just make sure that everything looks okay. But a tune-up is way more important than just a checkup.
What kind of things, if you did check, might you check? What kind of homeowner expect you to check?
We check gas pressure. We check all the electrical connections and electrical components to make sure they have the proper power going to them. We check the air filters and change the air filters. We check airflow. We check like combustion to make sure the thing is combusting properly. We check the installation to make sure it's installed properly and it's not causing other components to fail. We check like sizing of ductwork, sizing of the units. We check like other components related to the system, like the drain to make sure the drain's not clogged. If there is a drain, we check all those things. We run through like a multi-point inspection, at least like 20 something items.
So if they see, they turn it on a little bit late, maybe to save on the price of heating or something. How can homeowners reduce heating costs then without replacing their system if there is a problem?
Maintenance is one thing, and then also like those refreshes that we talked about.
Hmm.
Instead of spending, upwards from 10 to 20 grand, we could do a refresh from anywhere from like 2 to 3 to 4 grand, and it brings the system back to life. Like the whole heart of the system's still good, but the components start to usually fail before the system does. So we can bring that system back to factory fresh and kind of get at least another 5 years out of the system, depending on the condition. And that could help with efficiency of the system itself because, a kind of boiler, if you have no water circulation or you're getting air in the system, then the system's not going to operate properly. Or if your system's dirty, it's not going to operate properly. It's going to cause higher utility bills. Or if it's not installed properly, you're going to have higher utility bills as well.
So if your heater or your heating system is working fine, there's no major glitches or anything. Is there any maybe habits in terms of use of your heating unit that can help save money? Or is there anything that people do that wastes heat?
Yeah, turning your thermostat on and off all the time, like turning it on, turning it off, obviously that uses more energy instead of
Hmm.
just letting it run. Like a heat pump system, you definitely want to set it to the temperature you like it and just leave it running.
Hmm. When does it make sense to repair a furnace versus replace it?
So we have a way at Trust One that we look at that. It's a point system. So based on your age of the system and the dollar value of the repair. So like generally when something's over 10 years old, unless it's like a boiler, like if it's a furnace or an air conditioning system, 10 years. And if you have to do a repair, like usually more than $1,000, depending on how frequently you do those repairs, you get more points towards towards making sense of having to replace the system. Like if you're spending like $3,000 on a system that's 10 years old, it's not going to really make much sense because you're going to have to do even more repairs in the future. But if you're under 10 years old, anywhere between 5 or 8 years old on like a heat pump or a furnace, you can do a refresh. You can get another 5 to 10 years out of it, hopefully. So those are things that we can do to kind of maintain the system to keep it going
Mhm.
longer.
You mentioned carbon monoxide issues a little bit earlier. What should homeowners understand about that type of safety? Maybe a lot of people don't really think about that or take it. They maybe take it for granted.
Yeah, it really applies, for gas or fuel burning appliances. But, if we were to install a new system, let's just say today, we always put carbon monoxide detectors within 6 feet of the appliance, just so that if there were any issues, you know, it, we would know if there's any issues. So having them, working, testing them once a year, and then replacing them every 5 years is good practice, just to keep them working properly and use safe.
Do you tend to see a rise in those types of issues, carbon monoxide issues, at this time of the year or during the winter?
Yeah, I mean, people sometimes just leave them for years and years and years, and then they just keep beeping, and then they change the batteries, and they're like, it's still beeping. Well, that's because it's time for a new carbon monoxide detector. It's not because it just needs a new battery. So they do have an expiration date.
What should homeowners know about ductless / split systems for winter heating?
Those are one of the things that take a long time to heat up if you don't have it running. So if you're not home and you turn the system off, it's gonna take a few hours to get the heat back up to the temperature you like it. So it's better off just to keep it at a certain temperature and then let it run than it is to turn it off and then turn it back on to keep it running again. Another thing too is if say you want the temperature at like 70 degrees You're going to want to turn it up a little bit higher than 70 degrees. You might want to turn it anywhere from 72 to 75 because it's going to be a few degrees off. So to feel like 70 in the home, you want to keep it a little bit above that 70 degrees. I've just come across that with the experience of putting these systems in.
Are there any situations where a situation like that could outperform a traditional system?
Yeah, I'm honestly a big fan of ductless. Like if I was going to do a whole heat pump like system in my house, it's going to be
Hmm.
ductless. It's just per room controls. You can perfectly design everything per room. I mean, you can do it with a duct system, but it's not going to be, temperature in every single room unless you get this crazy expensive system. I'm just a fan of ductless. They're quiet, they work really well. You have customized per room control. They're easy to maintain. Like and then they don't use tons of energy. That's honestly my favorite system.
So I'm guessing based on that Massachusetts is a good place to have that.
Yeah, as long as it's designed properly and installed properly,
Hmm.
you should have no issues.
Plumbing is another thing that maybe people have issues with during the winter. What are
Hmm.
the most preventable winter disasters that you encounter?
Oh, oh man. People's heat stop working. They go on vacation. Their heat, like we're at a call today. They went away to Florida and came back and they had no heat.
Hmm.
Like you can have burst pipes. So, maybe having a heating checkup before you go, unless you've already had one, or making sure that, you leave the faucet running, at least dripping if you're gonna leave and it's really cold out. I mean, we've gotten like it was like 15 degrees yesterday in the morning, really cold outside. So definitely leave your heat running and heat on and making sure you're getting your tune-ups and checkups. Those are really kind of insulating pipes if they're near like outside walls and making sure things are like insulated in your home. So Mass Save has a great program for making sure you have insulation and getting discounted insulation. So it's good to take advantage of that.
I don't know how relevant this is at this time of the year, but if you say you've been watering your garden with your hose all summer and fall, and then you forget to unscrew the hose, and it freeze, and there's the winter, the weather freezes. How much danger are you in, and how quickly?
It all depends on if you have a frost-free spigot or not.
Hmm.
If you have a frost-free one, where the water actually shuts off is inside the house generally.
Hmm.
So that seal is actually inside, so it has a less chance of freezing versus like a normal outdoor spigot where you have just copper the whole way and where it shuts off is actually outside. So if you have one of those systems that's not frost-free, then your chances of actually bursting of hose bib is more likely if you keep the hose on because you just have water sitting in there and it has no place to go but on the pipe. So it's really recommended either one, get a frost-free hose bib and you don't have to worry about taking the hose off as
Hmm.
frequent. It
Hmm.
is recommended because you could still have issues but if you should always just take your hose off. And then if you have a frost-free hose bib, if you forget about it, you might just have to rebuild it.
How urgent is it to, if you hear like, okay, the first frost is coming up, how urgent is it to unscrew your hose?
Um, Honestly, when you're done, like when the weather changes and you're done working in your garden, you should just take your hose off by default.
Just
Like
do it.
why keep it attached?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're gonna wash your car or something, but maybe you should just go to the car wash at that point.
Sure. Um, what steps can, oh, you kind of mentioned that. Are there any other steps that homeowners can take right now to prevent frozen pipes? What about leaving your cabinets open in the bathroom or something?
Honestly, like if you're getting to that bad of like a scenario, you got an issue. Like you just need insulation or I mean,
Hmm.
unless you're doing like a remodel and your house is gutted, that's potentially what I would do, like other parts, but you shouldn't run into a situation where your entire house is cold, like unless you have no heat or there's an issue.
Hmm. What about water heaters in the winter? There's tankless and traditional. Are there differences in performances based on the type during the cold weather?
Yeah, wa water heating definitely takes more of a beating in the wintertime because the water that comes in is a lot colder. We got anywhere from like 35-degree water up to like 40-degree water coming in. So it takes longer for that water heater to actually heat that water. So it might take longer for you to get hot water. You might use more water. And your energy bills might go up because, like I said, you're using more fuel to actually burn the water, or heat the water.
Hmm.
Um, so, tankless obviously is a better bet. You're going to save more on energy because you're only heating the water that you're actually using versus a
Hmm.
tank type water heater where it's literally burning gas all day long to maintain the temperature in the water.
Are there any maintenance differences that matter in cold months?
Um, as far as water heating goes,
Yeah,
um, honestly, no. It's as long as you're doing it like once a year,
yeah, sure. Um, how does Trust One approach pricing transparency during emergency winter calls?
the same we would any year, any other time. If you're a member and you have a membership plan, you get priority service over someone who doesn't. We try to get out there as fast as possible, but our pricing doesn't change. I mean, we don't do after hour service. We don't do that because, our employees, we want them to be home with their families. I understand from a customer's point of view where they might want after hour service. I definitely appreciate that concern, but it's just not something we do
Hmm.
at this time. But generally, we are able to get out the next day, so we provide that quick service.
I know mass save rebates are a big thing in Massachusetts. What winter specific rebates or incentives should homeowners pay attention to right now?
Yeah, one thing I want to really point out in this is there are no more gas rebates. Like some homeowners just don't want to believe that. Like we have a specific customer who's like, I'm gonna have mass save out. Like he needs a new furnace, and he's like, I'm gonna have mass save out. We're like, well, it doesn't matter if you have mass save out. They're not giving gas rebates anymore. And then as far as 2026 goes, the rebate cap is 8,500 instead of $10,000. So at the end of this year, you have to be installed before 2026 for you to get a full $10,000 rebate.
In terms of you kind of talked about your the hours. If someone's heat fails in the middle of the night, what's the smartest way to troubleshoot before they call you?
Make sure you're operating your thermostat correctly. Make sure, especially if it's a new system, make sure it's not your thermostat. Check all your breakers. Check the breakers in your panel and make sure that those aren't tripped. And if they're tripped, then reset them. It's always good just to reset it anyways, especially with a heat pump system, because you might have an error code that you could reset and turn it back on. But also, if you can take a picture of the error code, so that we have it when we get there, because it's harder to troubleshoot something once you don't have an error code than when it is. I'd hate for us to come out to your home or any contractor to come out to your home and then not be able to replicate the issue that you were having. Um, Breakers, check your filters, check your air filters. That's important. Make sure your batteries in your thermostat are changed, unless you have a Wi-Fi thermostat. Um, if you're really savvy, you can check the fuses on your furnace.
Hmm.
But that's only the real DIY homeowners. Yeah, those are really the main things.
Is there any new technology or equipment that's kind of become a game changer for heating efficiency or reliability in the past few years?
Hmm. Honestly, heat pumps are really just the biggest difference we've
Hmm.
noticed. Water heating has come a long way. I mean, we have some electric water heaters that are lifetime warranty. So
Okay.
that's some really cool kind of tech. I guess it wouldn't be technology. It's the same as it has been, but those are things that really help. Um, like water filtration,
Hmm.
putting like different types of water filtration to remove contaminants in the water. I guess that technically wouldn't be technology, um, but there are some innovations in this industry.
Hmm.
Um, Certain thermostats, they can sense like issues with your heating system. So that's cool too. Cool new technology. Your thermostat can actually tell you that when to get maintenance reminders, when you have issues with your heating system, and we can actually see that on our end as well.
Okay. Last question for you. Maybe you've already touched on this, but what is one thing you wish every homeowner understood about preparing their home for the winter that would save them time, money, or stress?
Turning on their heat or cooling before the season.
So I don't know what it's like in Massachusetts. Like you notice basically the end of October, like things are taking a turn for the worse if you don't like winter. Here in Colorado, what's a good time in Massachusetts to maybe, okay, we need to get the heating on before we have a problem?
Oh, definitely October.
Okay.
End of September, early October. Like, even if it was 50 degrees out, like turn your heat on. Just like if it goes up a couple degrees, like you can turn it off,
Mm-hmm.
open a window afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That the frustration of being a little hot for a few minutes is better than having it 15 degrees out and you can't get someone for 2 weeks. In my
That's
opinion, I feel it's less stressful for you as a
Yeah,
homeowner.
yeah, that's a good point. Hey, Anthony, always great to talk to you. Very interesting and informative stuff. Thanks so much for having me today.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Everyday Comfort Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.